He honore he kroria he maungarongo ki te mata o te whenua, he whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Hanga e te atua he ngā kauhou ki roto ki tēnā, ki tēnō mātou. Manaki tia tō mātou kingi, a kingi tu heitia pō te tau te wherewhero o te tuawhitu, me te kahui ariki nui tonu. Whakatongia tō wairua tapu ki runga ki a mātou o tira ki runga ki tēnā o ngā kaupapa. Tēnei kaupapa hei āwhina, hei Taunaki i ngā hāpori, nau te kroria i ngā wā katoa, a ke tonu atu, āmine.
We need people like you to vote.
We need a Māori voice and a Māori lens.
If you don't know about it, you don't care about it. What even do councils do? How do councils represent my whānau?
Will a Māori council make a difference?
Your voice matters to set the table and design the menu, not just to sit at the table. Could I be part of a campaign team or a community champion?
You'll have the chance to ask the questions, and we hope you'll be invigorated to be a voice for the disengaged, mana tangata, mana Maangai.
Tēnā tātou e te whānau, nau mai, whakatau mai, nau mai, hoki mai, ki tēnā o ngā kaupapa ara, ko Maangai Taunaki tēnā. Ko ai tēnei, huri tēnei noko nei no Waikato, Ngāti Mahanga, Ngāti Haurua o ku hapu, ko te papaora tūrawa ko Mairo o ku marae, ko Kawina Jones tōku ingoa, engari pai te ingoa kawi ki au, no reira tēnā tātou. Ka whāti te raka ki a koe Kirsty, kei a koe te wā.
Kia ora. Ahi Māori e te whānau. Ko Kirsty Barber toko ingoa, kei whatawhata e noho ana to Peter Order Universe. And just it's great to be back here again.
Ka pai. Tēnā tātou. So look, if we can just go to the next slide. So look, just really want to welcome back everyone. I know it's been a minute. But actually, so this is the third session or the third online Maangai Taunaki series. So just quickly, really, what this kaupapa is, it's a series of monthly wānanga that we run really to support potential candidates, those whānau who might be keen to get in behind and support other candidates to stand, all ahead of the local elections, which of course are taking place on the 8th of October. This particular series is called Maangai Taunaki, and Maangai Taunaki really is about creating really a collective approach to supporting great and amazing Māori candidates, and also their campaign teams to really champion local democracy in our communities. So as I mentioned earlier, that this is the third series of Maangai Taunaki. And tonight, we're really just going to be focusing on being visible and managing media. As you can see here, that this really is just an outline of our program for this evening. And we hope to finish this evening by 8:30 p.m. Okay, look, so just quickly, what we're going to do, what we want to do is just quickly refresh your memory. And we're going to go back quickly and recap on session 2. And we're going to do that by means of just going over some of the quizzes. But by all means, we encourage you to do this quiz post tonight's wānanga. And again, the link is provided for you on this presentation. But we're just going to quickly recap on our session 2 Maangai Taunaki wānanga.
Okay, let's go. What do voters want? Voters want authentic messengers who are liked and trusted. People who are true to who they say they were when you voted for them. Being authentic and truly engaged with your communities is all people expect. They know you won't win everything, but want to know you are faithful to their faith in you. The 5 Ws is a useful framework for focusing on issues for our communities. What do the 5 Ws stand for? That's right, all of the above. Whare, whenua, waka, whānau and wai. Everyone, Māori and non-Māori, are affected by the same issues. Where do people live? How do they live? Is there safe water to drink, to swim in? Do rangatahi have a future? they want in their community. What do you need to know about your communities? You need to know your patch, the ages, cultures, aspirations and issues that matter to the people you hope to represent, the ward boundaries, the political parties they vote for, how many people are there in your ward, where you will find them, and how will you communicate with them. What are some of the basics of your message? Your campaign message needs to be clear, to the point and memorable. Think of it in two parts. This is what I will do for you. This is who I am and what I care about. My story. A simple, clear, short story about who you are and what are your values. Know the answer to why should I vote for you. Use clear language and short statements. Why are hoardings and billboards a good idea? Hoardings and billboards build name and face recognition easily. They make you a visible person in your community. You can print your slogan or catchphrase and everyone can see it and see what you are about. They're relatively cheap and they last for months. Hoardings are a great value for money and you can find the highest traffic areas to make yourself visible. They can't be thrown away like flyers, but you need to ask permission from site owners and check council regulations. Oh, let's see if we can get that Kirsty lady next time.
Kia
ora anō. Look, we just wanted to do a little wee bit of a promo because things are rolling out. We're getting closer and closer, whānau, and for us here in the Waikato, honestly, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make real change at how those councils and community boards look. We've got Māori wards, we've had representation reviews, so the ward boundaries have all changed. A lot of incumbents are standing down. You know, seriously, throughout the motu, we need Māori standing in every seat. Community board, regional councils, district councils, you know, everywhere. Mayors, you know, hopefully next time we'll have Aramangāpo on and she's standing for mayor in South Waikato. So come on, let's go. And together we'll have that strength and confidence to really make a difference. Some things I wanted to point out, and I'll come back to this at the end as well. Local Government NZ have just released their candidate guide. Their whole website is really worth having a look at. So it's called www.votelocal. The link's here, and I'll talk about it a wee bit more after we talk about nominations right at the end. Okay, hey, the live stream, as you know, was because of COVID. But of course, the huge silver lining is that it's meant that we can reach right out throughout the motu. And there's some amazing people in Awarohi. So, but we knew at some stage we needed to go ātinana because local people have to get together and really not only just support each other, but whakaro and kōrero around what are the issues for these communities in this local context. So we're starting up the ātinana ones. What we've decided is that we really need both, that we'll carry on with these. There's a permanent record on our YouTube channel, so that anybody can go back anytime or share them. But the ātinana ones are important. So here in the Waikato, and that's Greater Waikato, we're starting those on Tuesday the 17th of May. So what we're aiming to do is have the fortnight in between the monthly live streams. We're reaching out to coordinators throughout the motu as well and hoping that some of them will pick up the wero and start their own groups in their own local contexts. So, yep, Anita Bigham, if you're out there, Moko Tapania, Hiniwai Ormsby, and there are I know we've had audience from Carterton, all sorts of places. So that's fantastic. We are more than happy to any resources we create, we'll send to you. We always intended to do that, koha mai, koha atu. What we were trying to do is build things in sort of modules so that people could take it away and adapt it to their own context in their communities. So if you get an email from me, it'll be because we're trying to con you into starting up a local ākanohi group for your area and your communities. Whoops, too fast. Sorry, I still got another one, Sharon. Okay, and then the other stream that we're just starting up, we've been very busy, is community wānanga. So this was always two strands. That was about giving people real choice, so encouraging and supporting candidates to stand, great candidates, but also then going out into communities and encouraging them to understand how it works and why it is so important for them to vote and to have their voice represented in these spaces. Like I said, once in a generation opportunity here in the Waikato, and I'm sure it's the same elsewhere in the Motu. So the first one of those, we're going to run them on Sundays because we think that a lot of people have sport, whānau have sport, etc. So Sundays, once a week around our area, and there's 10 wards. So we're going to do a loop. The first one will be about engaging people, helping them to really come to terms with the issues that matter to them and enrolling them. Second one will be about getting out the vote and what they need to do for that. In addition, what's happening with Waikato Tainui is we've got 2 candidate events, like those will be big events. So that'll be cool. You know, they did a brilliant one last time in 2019. Sadly, by the time sort of the wheels got turning, there was only one of those and it was quite late in the piece. So this time we've got 2. We're going to have one basically right on the time when nominations open. Candidates, guest speakers, you know, people like Tipa Mahuta, man, you know, she can hold a room, that woman, and various other really exciting, inspirational speakers. And if we've got candidates at that point that have put their hands up, we'll have them too. And in September will be the Meet the Candidates. So have from throughout our area, having a big candidate evening where you can actually hear from every candidate in the Waikato. And, you know, and as usual, Kai is provided. So please just let us know so for catering purposes. Okay, Sharon, thank you.
So just before you move on also, so just to make a point, so actually the next Maangai Taunaki Tinana workshop will be done kind of on the marae. So I know that it's a all-modal, but we are having to change the venue. So we will come back and let you guys know once another venue has been confirmed.
And most likely that'll be just a Paparotu, which is just a kilometre down the road.
Cool. Okay, this is still you, Kirsty.
Thank you. Okay, this is just building on what we did last time. Like, as we know, being visible in your community is really important. If you've gone and seen the Taiki series, you'll have people like Meredith Akuhata Brown, all sorts of amazing people, Mokotopane from the far north, all talking about how to be authentically engaged with your communities. And that doesn't mean you have to be, you know, a rocket scientist or a political nerd. Like Aramangapo says, being part of the community for her is coming out of her lawyer's office and sweeping up the glass on the footpath, you know, and one of the council people saw her doing it and said, oh, that's not your job, that's not your job. And she said, it is my job. I don't want my kids, cutting their feet, etc. So it's just about being a real member of your community, but it's being seen and being visible. And that doesn't mean you have to go out and make speeches all the time. But I think you want that name and face recognition. You probably know yourselves. Every time you've gone past a billboard, you see somebody's face. So you want ways of capturing people's attention. So when they come to making that tick, they say, oh, I saw her. I saw them down at the Matariki event at Dinners Common, or I saw them, you know, at Koronehana, or, you know, you saw people. You do need to be ready to talk to people and ready to listen to people. But it doesn't mean that you have to go prepared to make a speech at all these kinds. And we're going to talk about stump speeches. You do need to have your messages really clearly framed and well written so that you can deliver them at a moment's notice. So yeah, a really good idea is to have a plan. And what I set you for your mahi kāinga last time was to build up a calendar of community events and gatherings. Because realistically, you might know a lot's going on in your community, but then you suddenly find that 3 things are on the same day, or etc. So making a plan is really important. It allows you to plan and manage your time realistically. The other thing to be careful of is remember it's your voters first. It doesn't mean you can't go to everything, but it's the people who vote. So you need to know where they go, even if that's not normally your area, because you're going to be representing a whole lot of people, not just people like you. So cultural gatherings, cultural organisations, sports groups, school barbecues, whatever. So you need to be able to reach your potential voters, not just the whole community. And I'm just going to talk about, hopefully next slide, I think, isn't it? Yep, cool. So where can you find these things out? And again, we'll be able to, our tinana, have a much better discussion about this. So everybody in the room candidates from the Waikato, for example, can drill down and really get involved in what they need to do. Because it shouldn't be about you just turning up on your own. You know, it'd be really good if you had a crew and you were all in T-shirts and you were just wandering around talking to people. So council websites are a really good first start. Again, I can't really waste our screen time by showing you all of them, but this is an example on the left. So every website has its degrees of difficulty. Some are easier. Waipa, for some reason, is really user-friendly, but theirs is a little icon that says events. In Hamilton, you kind of have to go to, oh, shiver, sorry, I've just lost my, it's gone out of my brain now, but it'll be in the PowerPoint anyway. So, and that is another thing, by the way, we've PDF'd this so that anybody that's on our mailing list, we'll send this out to you as soon as this session's over. If you're not on our mailing list, just email me and I'll put you on our mailing list. So there's usually a what's on in Hamilton or what's, you know, that kind of thing. And it'll give you a big calendar itself of the events that the council's got anything to do with. Organisational websites. So again, depends on your own rohi and your own context, but Sports Waikato. What I've put down here is the settlement centre here in Waikato. So unfortunately, our migrant communities often get completely ignored, and they are the least confident about what does this process mean. So if you know you've got migrant communities inside your ward boundaries, it would be really, really good to build, for lots of reasons, but also for political reasons, build some pathways into that community. In Waikato, we have the settlement centre. So it may be offering to go down and give a talk or whatever. But again, get your face and your name and your basic slogan out to as many places as possible. Cultural events. So I mentioned, of course, we've got Matariki now. You know, what's happening around your ward or area for Matariki, and make sure you're there and make sure you've got the T-shirt with your contact details, with your face, and just be there amongst people. In our case, we have Pokai and Kuranehana, but you also may have Diwali, for example. So again, organisations or council websites, or we'll either have a look. I'm going to talk to you a wee bit more about these community Facebook pages on the next slide, but these are really, really important. So most communities have, oh, hey, Claudine. Most communities have their own, like we've got our, for example, Whatawhata area community page. We've also got Te Kōwhai just down the road. We've got Te Pāhu just up the road. Rotakori's sort of somewhere around. So go and have a look on your Facebook pages, because there's probably several community pages inside your ward or district if you're going for regional council. Also, you know, just about every hapu, iwi, or even just marae, you know, like Omairo and Te Paparotu, for example, are both Ngāti Mahanga, but they have their own Facebook pages. So that's, you know, go there and make sure you're joined up or whatever. Easy, cost-free way of getting your that name recognition and face recognition. There are also other local kinds of area pages, like check your community boards. So in the case of us with Whangaroa, there's a whole group called Raglan Naturally. So there's hundreds of places you can go, cost you nothing, where you can get that reach, you know. Anyway, can we go to the, hey, there you go. Hey, Claudine. Sorry, last time I saw Claudine was at Te Paparotu, remember? Oh, have I got the community? I might have got the yet. Oh, this is you now. Sorry.
All right, the next slide. So I guess let's be clear. One thing you do have to kind of become confident in is obviously becoming a self-promoter. And so you have to really kind of get out there, start promoting yourself. And in actual fact, you're going to have to start getting comfortable really with being uncomfortable. So, you know, putting your face at the fore, being able to have meaningful conversations with people, try and connect with them, go down and talk to the local businesses. So really, the art of promoting really is just really becoming a really good talker. And one thing we know about Māori, you're fantastic talkers and great storytellers. So okay, let's talk about billboards. Actually, as part of session 2 and actually part of the quiz, we briefly spoke about billboards itself. So of course, One thing with billboards is it is really great value for money. They are reasonably quite a cheap resource and promotion tool. And actually, just kind of thinking of the fly, it might be really good that as we start building momentum and start registering more people and identifying more people throughout the series who are looking to stand as candidates, it may actually be of benefit actually that we leverage that kind of group buying power. So we could potentially actually consolidate all of you to try and see if we can leverage or get cheaper rates for your billboards. So that, I mean, I'm just kind of throwing that idea out. Just in regards to billboards, it's really important to know, again, as mentioned in the session 2 recap of the quiz, is actually location. So the location and placement of your billboards is actually a really important component. Try and have your billboards and ideally somewhere that has real large foot traffic, or that's recognizable, or that has real high, just general vehicle traffic. Because as Kirsty mentioned earlier, face recognition is actually a really important part of your campaign. Again, as it was mentioned before, that of course with billboards, they do last long, and they have many uses. Trust me, when I ran for council myself, I ended up with a whole lot of billboards left, and I used it for so many different reasons. Actually, and most of them come with a blank side at the back, so I just repurposed it actually for a whole nother sign. So I encourage you to use them for other purposes outside of this too once your campaign is finished. And again, what we mentioned is, yes, billboards is an easy way of building a name and face recognition, but also gives you the opportunity to imprint your slogan and also your catchphrase. But and just another point I wanted to raise also about the billboards is try and reach out for sponsorship. So you might want to go down to your local dairy or any local businesses. Actually, and make sure to reach out to Māori businesses who you think would be keen to support e Ngāwhi and Tautoko you by sponsoring you. And there are different ways that you can reach out to them. Of course, there's Amotai, which have a whole database of Māori providers, but the best solution really is to target those who you know, whether they're whānau, whether they're friends or acquaintances, and most importantly, and also whether if they're local. So just reach out to them for sponsorship to see if they can sponsor your billboards. Look, some other key ways to become a self-promoter is, of course, putting together flyers or brochures. Again, it's another means of building name and face recognition. And so we're getting a really good look at your back at the moment, Kirsty.
Sorry.
It's also a way of kind of having clear, succinct statements. So it allows you really the opportunity to kind of just go into more detail about your campaign. So use it to kind of talk more about what you hope to bring, how you will represent your community. Most times with brochures and flyers, it'll come with we'll try and have an A4 folded flyer, at least with 4 or 6 panels. And one point to kind of really note as well is always try to talk in a third person voice. Try not to use I, and largely it is because it's to avoid really people kind of criticizing you just solely always talking about yourself. So use the third person voice. And each page should have no more than 4 or 5 paragraphs, except the front page, which should just have your photo and your slogan on it. So make sure you have a nice, clear, professional photo of yourself on your flyer or your brochure, and then of course your name, and try and have those kind of key statements on there. But one thing to note as well, you have to make sure that you're explaining and giving your voters a key reason really to vote for you. Just lastly, what's really important is to kind of stockpile kind of like a photo library of everything. Make sure to have it all on a USB. And largely that's because it's for media purposes. So for example, if media want to run stories about your community or want to promote you in the local newspaper and the like, you already have a stockpile or library or depository really of kind of key statements. Of course, make sure you have your slogans and the like on there, but stuff that you can just kind of go to and just feed directly to media. And that really just kind of helps with the free flow of information. But also it adds to kind of like making sure that there is some consistency there around your messaging. And by all means, you don't want an ugly photo. So having that stockpile of really good quality, high-res photos is actually really important. And lastly, just to add also, so of course, when you're standing for local council, you want to make sure that you stand out. And so when you think about your billboards, try and think of kind of color schemes and the like. Make sure that it's consistent with who you are and of course the messaging that you want to bring. Try and consider having t-shirts. So t-shirts again, so I did something similar that's kind of obviously have my name on it and then my little slogan. So consider doing t-shirts up, but also it's a really good resource or promotion tool to kind of give out to people who are keen to support you. You can also sell t-shirts as a way of funding your campaign, but also it's a free way of promoting your campaign by having other people wear your t-shirts. But also it's a good way to when you're kind of gathering or putting together your teams of volunteers and the like, when you go out to the general public, there's, everyone's got wearing the same color. There's potentially a photo of you if that's kind of what you want to go with, or of course your name's going to be there in the slogan. And so it just kind of like it adds to the kind of professional front, but also it's that whole face recognition and the like. Some of the other ideas is potentially looking at stickers. There are also vehicle magnets that you can, again, that's possibly another way of getting people to help fund your campaign, but ask people to sponsor the magnets. And by way of doing that, look, we'll give you 2 magnets to put on your car if you can roam around your ward or your community with magnets on your car. So look, there's some really innovative ways, but practical ways of doing it. So yeah, try and be quite pragmatic and practical about how you think you can best run your campaign. Okay, next slide. So being visible in your community is really important. So you want to make sure that you get out there. You want to be a kanohi kitea. Kirsty shared a little bit about just some of the online platforms that you can use, but don't take for granted those community events or working bees and all of that kind of stuff. All those kind of events that just naturally take place in your communities. Kirsty mentioned also about some of the cultural events. So, of course, here in Waikato, we are just oversubscribed with events. And if you're not at any cultural events, then you've got, rugby league is starting up now, rugby's starting up, netball's starting up, so we are jam-packed with multiple different events. And so try and see how you can connect in with some of those and use those as an opportunity really for you to network, but also to promote yourself. Of course, so you want to get in the community. Actually, that doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah.
So look, so make sure, yeah, so look, the other point that I want to raise, and one thing that I thought was a really good idea, was actually getting out into your community and knocking on doors. Like, if there's one thing that I really enjoyed, was actually just having the opportunity just to go out and talk to people in their homes or at the door. And yeah, and people actually, when doing that, people actually really enjoyed meeting me, but also having the opportunity to listen to some of the key things, some of the key priorities, but also gave me the chance to really listen to some of the issues that they have. And of course, it then allowed me to kind of respond and reaffirm to them some of my kaupapa and how I thought I would be able to represent them if I was elected as their councillor. But look, just kind of 3 key points when you're knocking on doors. So, of course, when you're organising your crew, what's really important is that you need to make sure that you brief them well. So before you go out and start knocking on the doors, rally up some key people, as Tipper said, get a kazi to tell a kazi. And before you get them to tell any other kazis, you want to make sure that they are well briefed. You go through, you set out to them the tere, make sure they know not what to do or not what to say. So, of course, at times you may come up against people who just don't want to bar it merely because they don't agree with who you are, your kaupapa or whatever. So you would want to make sure that you go over those those tere with your crew, just to make sure that we don't want to be controversial, and we're certainly not there to try and convince people. Your role really is to just go around, briefly talk to them about what we do, give what information, whether it's a flyer, brochure, and the like, and then be on your way. One of the other things is also just make sure, practical thing, just make sure everyone looks good, so make sure people are wearing shoes or I think another key factor that I really enjoyed was bringing, kind of softened everything, but people felt more drawn to, but actually encourage your whānau to come along. So often I would take some of my nephews, some of my nieces around. They would come around and help me deliver pamphlets and that. But I thought it was a really united front, but a whānau front, and so that resonated somewhat with the community. So try and consider things like that. But of course, you got to make sure that everyone looks good. And one way of doing that is having those your own merch or your own t-shirts, and I think that was a really good way of the general public and your community just recognizing who you are just based on the t-shirts and your team. Tip number 2 really is just to help you to reach the critical mass. That's really what getting a crew and a volunteer team will do for you. The bottom line is you cannot do this all on your own. And if there's one thing we've learned, having interviewed multiple different candidates, current candidates, is they all said you cannot do this on your own. You have to have a really good support team. And so in order for you to reach the critical mass, in order for you to reach most, if not all, in your own community, you have to have a campaign team or key set of supporters and volunteers to help you with your campaign. Finally, the last one is make sure when you're briefing your crew, you have to make sure that you plan out your route. So have maps, have certain streets and the like assigned to certain groups or people in your crew, because what you don't want is everyone all going down the same street, and our poor community having 6 of the same flyers all in their mailbox, or 6 of the same people or different people but from the same campaign all knocking on their door on the same day. And so just got to be coordinated. Make sure that you plan your route, you have a clear set of map, you have a clear maps there for your team. So that's us. So being more visible in your community. And over to you, Kirsty.
Kia ora. And araho mai for my back. I'm such a digi dinosaur. I don't know when you can see me and when you can't. And the dog was scratching at the door.
Well, thank God you weren't farting or anything like that.
I'll leave that one to the dog. So oh my, hey, just to pick up on what Koe was saying too about photos. One of the cautionary tales is that if you don't supply the photo to the media, they'll find something off the net. So you are in control if you have your own images and you pass those on to any media who are covering you for any event. The other one too, and it goes with this one too, is start thinking about whether you'd make short video live streams as you go throughout the campaign. The thing is, you don't want the same message that you decide on in May. You've got to build on that and update it throughout the course of the campaign. So having little live stream videos of where you're at, no more than a minute or so. So again, and like Koe says this, who looks like Boris Johnson. I don't do mirrors, so I don't notice how scruffy I look until I see this myself on screen. But so just think about that, how you might do little short videos that you can put onto Facebook pages, etc. So Sharon, our wonderful Sharon's going to give you a big spiel on social media strategy shortly, but this is not about, I'm going to talk now, not so much about making your own content, but about using the resources that are available to you online already. So I talked about what those are, and thank you, Claudine, who also said, get on the Marae pages. So, all of those community pages, and you can put the same content on 4 or 5 different pages. That doesn't matter. But the big thing you're doing is not only are you promoting your campaign, but you're potentially enlisting support. And all of these campaigns, all of these pages are free. I mean, you don't want they'll usually have an administrator. So if you're posting 3 times a day and taking over the whole site, someone will probably say something to you. But again, we're going to talk about that later. And a lot of the stuff we can talk about in more depth are tinana, like how to present a flyer and what to put where, etc. So come on the 17th if you're in the Waikato. But so, you want to have a plan and a schedule for going on these pages, but you want it to be pretty regular, and you need to have in your mind what kinds of things you put, and particularly little videos or photos of you being involved in that local community is going to look really good. Also, those pages are a great source of information. So you get a feel for what kinds of things matter to people. What are they talking about? Get engaged in conversation. You don't have to actively say, I'll do this and you just vote for me. But if you're actively engaging with some of the people on that platform, again, you're getting that recognition. They're getting to know you. So when it comes time to put that tick, you're a known quantity. And you can find out a lot about what's actually happening in your community that you can turn up to. Koe mentioned, turning up to the local working bee, and just being prepared to do the mahi, or whether that's in the kitchen or just bring a cake or whatever you can do, that's going to really cement your relationships with those communities you also want to be your voters. It'll also give you a clear idea through those pages where you can connect, what's going on in those communities and where are good places to connect with people, but also who can you connect to. You'll start to get a feel for who's in the community, who has a voice, who likes the same things you do, who cares about the issues that you care about, and you can create an alliance basically. So, and that's one of, as we talked about, I think in session 1, that's one of the biggest advantages that Māori candidates have. You have hapu, you have whānau, you have those networks and those social relationships already. So it's just a case about harnessing those, and building that kind of collective strength. But that's a natural advantage that all Māori candidates have that many Pākehā don't. They are often sort of going it alone. Okay, so next one, is that me too, or is that...
No,
me.
Okay. Cool. No. Okay, so what's really important is that if you're going to stand for, so you've decided to stand for council, right? But first of all, you should know why. People should know why they should vote for you, and you have to be able to articulate yourself and make sure that it's nice and clear as to that reason. And so. So we're going to face it. So this here really is just focus on the basics. So of course, making sure that you come up with that succinct, kind of clear campaign slogan. Obviously, one that's really memorable, really focus and harness in on your message. No waffle or no. It's really funny actually because you'll be very surprised how often people just use like jargon words when they're naturally talking. I often do that myself. And it's really funny when you record yourself and you hear all the like unnecessary words when you're just conversating, that you need to start kind of filtering out of your message, out of the way that you talk, one, but more so in your written text, and try to make sure that things are nice and clear, but you should also be able to articulate that clearly when you're even speaking and talking to others. So in your campaign message, you want to be able to explain what you will do for your community. You'd also want to talk about just briefly a little bit about who you are, your whānau, your background, and the like. Make sure that your stump speech is, that you use clear, simple language, and try and be personable, and try and relate to others. And you do that by always talking about the issues that really matter to them. And you can only really identify those issues if you actually just start listening. And so those opportunities that I shared to you earlier, and actually that myself and Kirsty shared with you earlier, about going out into the community, knocking on the doors, going to community events, going to cultural events, all of those types of events and activities will afford and provide for you really the opportunities to really hone in on some of those key issues that when you start piecing and putting together your speech, and hopefully I would have hoped that you would have done that even prior to going out to some of these events, but it'll help you to really sharpen and kind of sharpen your speech or in your stump speech and your pitch. Of course, repetition is really key. The more you say it, people will recognize it, and you should really kind of just get to a point where you don't have to read it, where it's kind of you just know it like the back of your hand. But look, in the next slide, we're not going to go there yet, but in the next slide, we're going to actually have a look at someone's candidate profile. But really, the candidate profiles are of course you're only allowed to use 150 words, but it's an opportunity for you really to be able to tell your story, and you're only able to do that by means of using 150 words. And of course, we talked a little bit earlier about having a depository or having those library of really kind of high res quality photos of yourself. So make sure that you have something available when putting together like that for your candidate profile. And then, of course, as Kirsty shared earlier, that though this one really is kind of like a short video, but think about also creating, live content as we're doing tonight, because people kind of have the ability to really get the sense of who you are. And it just comes across a lot more authentic, but also people are able to kind of just see naturally kind of how you react, how you conduct yourself. And look, to be honest, we've already had a few boo-boos tonight, but all of that kind of helps really to build your audience, but for your audience to kind of better relate and connect with you. So try and use other means also to try and help build your candidate profile. But look, the next slide, thank you, Sharon. This here really is just an example of a candidate statement or candidate profile. So actually in our first Mana Tangata Mana Maangai video, I think it was our first or second, I can't remember now, it feels like it's been ages ago, but we had the pleasure really of having Heniwai come on as our guest speaker. And so look, what we're going to do is we're going to just quickly go over her candidate statement. I wasn't going to go over it in detail, but actually I'm just going to pinpoint actually some key points that she's making in her candidate profile. So it goes like this. So of course, so it starts off with Heniwai believes the Regional Council has the duty to protect our environment. I want to just first point out that kind of first statement. So, as I mentioned earlier, to make sure that you talk in your third person voice. So, try not to use too much or if any at all. I try and avoid that as much as you can. So, in this case, that's a tip for her. So, she's already started talking about herself in her third voice. And it goes on, Hawke's Bay is the best place in the world to live. And she wants to see our region healthy and thriving. Heniwai knows that our region has immense potential in technology, tourism, and high value horticulture and farming. However, these things don't coexist without a thriving natural environment. And so I just want to kind of recognize this point. So in that point there, Heniwai is actually recognizing her community, in a real positive light. She is trying to tell people that, yes, she loves her community, and this is the reason why. And it goes on. So revitalising the Ahuriri estuary and ensuring the hard work's done to protect our drinking water sources and rivers is Heniwai's focus. Boom. So we know now from that is that's going to be Heniwai's focus for her campaign. And she goes on, as a Napier environmental champion, she has already led projects to improve the health of the Ahuriri estuary, having grown and planted over 3,000 native trees. So again, what she's done here is she's actually given clear examples of how of what projects, what activities, what things she's already done in means of helping to restore and revitalise the Ahuriri estuary, but also reinforces the reason as to why she's focusing that and some of the intermediary solutions that she's already come up with already. And cool. And just in closing, so Heniwai is a married mother of two who owns an award-winning tourism business, Napier Māori Tours. She's a former science teacher, having both attended and taught at Napier Girls High School. I think that's what it's. Oh yeah. And Heniwai sits on the boards of Hawke's Bay Tourism and Waiohiki Marae. So look, obviously, so what she's chosen to do there, she's ended really just on her personal story, but also on the accolades and the credentials that she brings as a candidate. So look, all in all, very well constructed candidate profile. And that really is just an exemplar or an example of what she's done in her case. And by all means, there are some templates too that we have available.
Before we leave that slide, because it'll lead into what I also want to talk about. So what we see in there, for example, is that modular structure. Do you notice she's got 4 short paragraphs, which makes it a lot easier to read? She's a master of being succinct. She's also recognizing all the people in her community. So that second paragraph is very interesting. What she says is business matters, technology, tourism, high value farming. So she's making a statement that she's not anti-business. However, then she's saying she's saying also though that the natural environment matters. So she's not speaking to only one kind of group in her community. She's acknowledging them all and she's putting forward an argument. But yeah, like Koe said to the other thing, because we're going to talk about this in a minute with resumes and stump speeches, what she's also talking about is her personal connection to those issues. And like Koe says, her experience, the things she's already doing to address those issues, and then a personal statement, which is only 3 sentences, that manages to, in a very succinct, we love that word, in a very succinct, she's married, she has children, she's been in Napier all her life, she's from Girls High, she was a scientist, she's made one, there is so much in that last paragraph about who Heniwai is as a person. And the thing is that many people don't like writing. She won't have sat down and written that in one hit, man. She'll have probably drafted and redrafted. But that's where you need to get to. And that's all of those things, your campaign slogan, your campaign message, your campaign profile. So that's the stuff to be working on now is getting it right, brainstorming, throwing it all out, all the things that you think you want to do, but eventually coming up with a really clear, like building blocks, a clear set of building blocks. And will all feed into all the types of things you need to have, your slogan, your message, etc. You'll just use different building blocks. In a stump speech, you might have 20 blocks like that. But for this, you'll pull out the 4 that are really important to fit in 150 words. Just as a matter of interest, it depends on where in the country. Many places have 150, but again, that's something that you'll need to know from your own local council, because there'd be nothing worse than writing 200 words and having them not accept it because it's late, because it's too big. So those are things you'll need to go to the actual council that you're standing for and just check what their regs are, because they're not all identical. Also, what I'll tell you at the end too is get hold of that candidates guide from Local Government New Zealand. Anyway, sorry, next one. Okay, so here we go. And again, our tinana is probably going to be the best way to talk about how to put flyers together and actually share ideas and people can peer review. The tinana ones are also going to be a great opportunity for you to practice your speech, because as Kawe pointed out, man, you have got to have it rolling off your tongue. You can't just have all those hesitations or have redundant words or, oh, whoops, I didn't realize I've gone off track there, sort of stuff. So you need to practice it. It'll probably get really, really boring for you, but remember that the people you're talking to, this will be the first time they've heard it. You get to the stage where you think you're just being a parrot on a tape recorder, but most people you'll only see once or twice, so it'll be fresh to them. So you've got to keep it fresh for yourself and make sure it's coming smoothly. So those tinana workshops are a chance to get some peer feedback and try it out on people who are friendly audience and who'll give you good advice and good feedback and help you shape it up and polish it up. Think of the pounamu, man. If you're wandering through a stream, you would not be able to pick a pounamu out basically from any old blooming rock. It's not till it's polished that it becomes the taonga, that most of us will wear around our necks. So a resume that's a more detailed kind of thing, but a lot of the stuff out of resume will go into a brochure or a flyer. And again, you're wanting those succinct little pieces, no more than a paragraph, something that's easy to read and something that makes it stand out in blocks. And this is the other thing, in all of this thinking about yourself, why you want to stand, what matters to you, what you're good at, what you've got experience in, all of that should help you come up with the answer to that question. Why are you running? And if you start, and again, the tinana wānanga are going to be really good for having that kind of shared cordial. Well, why are you standing? Well, why are you standing? And all of that, builds a piece. It's like sort of musical groups. Somebody will come in with a couple of chords that they think sound good, and the rest of the group will add their instruments in or their voice or suggest that lyric. It's a crafted thing. It's not something that you don't worry if it's taking you a while. It's worth thinking about now and polishing that pounamu until you get it right. And talk with others. Others are going to know, especially if you feel a bit whakamā, others will know what you're good at. Others will remind you of why you should stand. Others will have, really good arguments for why you should be on council. And they'll also have some of the other stuff, helping you focus on the topics that matter. What would your communities want to hear about? How can you express your involvement in these kaupapa? So we saw with Hiniwa very quickly, we planted 3,000 trees, the Ahuriri estuary, boom. And inside one paragraph, she was actually making that personal connection and experience with the issues. And what have I done? But we always need to remember, what do you believe you should be doing moving forward? Because that's what people will vote for you for. What can you try and achieve? Now, in Hiniwa's case, you'll notice she put it kind of in the beginning, and it was very cleverly worded. She said the regional council has a duty. How can you mean? How'd she put it? The regional council has a duty to protect our environment. So she's actually putting out the wettle right there, and that's then the rest follows about what she intends. It's very clear in the end what she intends to do moving forward. And outside 150 words on your stump speech and your resume and your flyers, you'll be able to expand on those ideas. But that's key. And she sees that. So words like duty, responsibility are clear. So the stump speech, and again, this is going to be a very brief overview, and there'll be other people you'll know who will be good at being able to help you write a stump speech. And again, when we get our tinana workshops, we can all work together to try and shape something up. You need something, even though you craft it at the beginning of the campaign, it's kind of got to last. So it's not what you think today, it's what you're still going to be thinking in October, or what's going to matter in October. So, so it is worth really doing all that homework and all that midi of all these ideas and topics and issues and talking to your community, etc. And like I said, breaking down your topics into kind of modules or little paragraphs like we saw Haniwaya did. She only had 4 in there, but you'll probably want more for a stump speech, but have a little paragraph about everything you might want to campaign on or talk about. You can move them around, or you might even leave some of them out, depending on who you're talking to, or depending on the event, or depending on there might be restrictions. You're only allowed to talk for 5 minutes here, you're allowed to talk for 20 there, that kind of thing. So if you've got little building blocks, you can shuffle them around and make a different picture each time. And Koe just said that, and I emphasized it too. You want to practice a speech aloud. It has to flow naturally. So like he said, if you hear recording of yourself, you suddenly realize you've added all these little bits in, or redundant words or whatever. People won't, you've got to grab people's attention and hold it. So it has to be boom. You can't be fluffing around because they'll have wandered off by then. Remember, they don't have to listen to you. You have to make it fun to listen to you. You have to, get them excited about what possibilities voting for you will mean for them. And Koe's already said it too, and it's the same, the importance of repetition. You need a simple, consistent message that you repeat over and over and over until you just about want to vomit. Oh yeah, I think this was either Baden or Haniwai said this, or if you've not said something so often you think you'll be sick the next time you said it, you have not said it. Oh, no, that was Tipper, wasn't it? Wasn't it Tipper said that? Yeah. So you've got to get to the point where you are sick of sound of hearing your own voice, but keep remembering you might have said it 1,000 times, but the people in front of you have only heard it once. But why you need those little building blocks is voters are only going to respond to a very limited number of issues and messages that resonate for them. Very few of them are going to sit through an hour-long speech where you cover every kaupapa that engages you. So again, the building blocks. Once you know the person in front of you is concerned about housing, boom, you focus on that. Once you know the group in front of you is concerned about, parks and playgrounds because they're all young mothers, boom, you focus on that. So you have your little building blocks, but you build them all differently depending on who you're talking to. And like I've said at the bottom, you might see someone once, maybe twice maximum throughout a campaign. So don't try to freshen up your message and make it confusing, because it's got to be clear. This person won't have heard what you said last week. So don't keep it clean and consistent. Don't try and change it because you're getting sick of it. It's got to be the same message all the way through, and you have to know how to respond to people who question you about that. Okay, is that us? Where are we up to now? Oh, cool. Sharon's turn. Yay!
Kia ora tātou katoa. So ko waiau e kōrero atu nei kia koutou ko Sharon te rangi tōku ingoa. He uri au no ngā titu wharetoa, tēnei te mihi mahanga kia koutou katoa I te pō nei. I'm here to cover the social media aspect of putting yourself out there and using the social media platforms to build the best profile you can. And I just want to talk about quickly the mayor, the most recent, he's no longer the mayor, but he was the mayor in Purirua. And he ran his whole campaign on social media, and then he was voted the mayor. So social media can be a powerful tool if you use it correctly. So firstly, I just want to talk about what even is social media. So social media is a place where people gather socially in a digital realm. And so traditionally people think social media is Facebook, it's Instagram, but actually it's also YouTube, it's also Snapchat, it's also TikTok. It's also like G Suite, if you've got a group of people who hang out somewhere. Teams can be considered a social media platform. And this icon that I've picked here is just to give you an idea that sometimes social media is a bit more than what we all think. Just Facebook is generally at the top of your mind. YouTube is a social media platform. And so all these different platforms can be used to leverage yourself inside a digital space. And I think also if you're trying to aim for the rangatahi vote, or a vote from a corpus of people who are sort of under 40, then you definitely need to be considering some great social media communications and coming up with a really cool social media strategy. So I'm going to just move through these quickly. The next one is understanding your audience and platform. So it's not hard actually to just Google simple statements like what is the most used social media platform in New Zealand, and it will come back with some really empowering figures or powerful figures. So most of us sort of think if you're under 30, you probably think, oh, everybody's on Instagram. Totally. But that's because everybody in your age group is on Instagram. But actually everyone under 25 is probably in TikTok, and everyone over 40 is probably in Facebook. So it's not hard to do a little bit of research to understand which platform is going to hit your audience the best. And if you're targeting a group of young people, then you want to make sure that you're in the right platform and you're delivering that message the right way. So it's not hard to Google that, do a little bit of research, even get a bro to help you out so that they're doing research. And one thing I like to do when I'm making content is I really like to talk to the audience. So I'll go and ask a bunch of, 30-year-olds, what do you think about this? Or I'll go and ask my daughter and her mates who are like 10 and 11 and 12, what do you guys think about this? To help keep the content relevant to the age group that you're trying to create it for. I heard Kirsty put it up as a techie friend, but I'm really conscious of that word techie. Pronounced the wrong way, it could get you into trouble. So let's go with the tech guru. Bit of fun there. So let's go with the tech guru. Everybody has a friend who's quite wizzy on the tech. Find a friend who knows some platforms, not just the one. So what people tend to do is they hit up a bro, or they'll hit up a young person actually, and they'll be like, oh, you should be my social media guru. But actually that young person is probably only engaging in the one platform that they use every day, which might be Instagram or it might be TikTok. They don't really know how to hit a Facebook audience because young people don't really hang out there a lot. They go there, but they're not hanging out there a lot. So find someone who knows more than one platform. And the other thing that people need to do is when you find a tech person, your tech guru who does know more than one platform, is to really look after them, because the chances are if you were referred to that person, lots of other people have already referred people to that person. And so that person can quite easily become quite burnt out trying to do their work, live their life, be in their own personal space, and have to look after all these tech guru needs. So, offer them a koha, cook them dinner one night, make sure that they're not burnt out, especially if they're giving their time to you for no cost, because some tech guru in your whānau will probably just say, oh, no, bro, I got you. That tech person also wants to know a little bit about the back end. So when you're uploading stuff to Facebook, sometimes it's not quite as simple as upload post. And sometimes when you're cross posting, which we'll cover a little bit later on, that also is not as simple as upload posts. So, if that's the kind of tech guru you want to find, is someone who knows a little bit of intricacies about the back end of social media posting. So remember that tech guru is probably already overworked because the tech industry is like full on. Okay. What social media platforms to choose? So what's really good is if you have a team you can sit down with and you guys can come up with a strategy to hit multi-platforms, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. That is a great idea, but don't think one post works for all platforms. So we'll talk about that when we cover multi-platform posting. But do some research, Google it. It's not hard to type in a few words to find out the platform that is going to work for you and your campaign. So simple searches like, what is the most social media platform in New Zealand? I want to target a age group of 40 to 45 women. What social media platform should I be using? So that if you're only going to use one or two social media platforms, you really find out the nuts and bolts of those two platforms, and you put a lot of energy into making the content right for those two platforms, and not worrying about other platforms if you're going to do that. If you're going to choose 4 or 5 platforms, then that's a bigger campaign, of course, and that's a lot more content. So don't start using a platform and then fizzle out. Do go hard on Facebook, don't go hard on Facebook, start going hard on Instagram and then fizzle out, because your people will notice that and they'll wonder where you went to, or it may have a negative connotation that you didn't keep it up. So go hard on one platform, or if you're going to go for more than one platform, make sure that you've got a good team behind you, because making content can be really time consuming, especially making good content. Do the research, monitoring, right? So what a lot of people don't do, I've worked with a few situations on social media, and I worked with a group that had some really, really awesome hits. They were getting into 50,000 hits on their Facebook page for a thing that they were doing every week. Every week they would jump in and they would do this thing, and then they'd be like, yeah, 50,000 hits. But when we really had a look at the analytics, there were 50,000 hits of people and no one looked at the content past 1 minute. And what that meant for the people that were making this 30-minute content was that 29 minutes of it was kind of wasted, because everybody was tapping out of there after 50 seconds. So do some research, analytics on the content you're posting, just to make sure. So for example, if you're going to go somewhere and you're going to make a 2-minute video, and then you look at the analytics and they only looked for 30 seconds, well, why do you need to waste your time making 2 minutes when you should just make 30 seconds? Because that's all they want to consume. And what I have up here in this slide, Hootsuite, Buffer, I'm only saying the ones that I know about, that I've personally been into. So Sprout Social, what these are called, these are social media managing suites. So a lot of people are familiar with Hootsuite. So what you basically do is you sign up for a Hootsuite account, and then you attach all of the social media avenues that you want to use to that Hootsuite, and then you're posting from one place to multiple places. So there can be a fee involved, somewhere between, say, $20 and $80 a month, depending on the kind of posting you want to do. But what it does inside here, because often what people forget is if you're doing multi-platform delivery, you might do a graphic to Facebook, and then a graphic to Instagram, and then a graphic to TikTok. That's actually 3 locations where you have to go and do analytics. And it just gets overwhelming. One, oh my gosh, has anyone ever seen the analytics of Facebook? Like, there's nowhere after that world. It's just, so if you're going to use something like Hootsuite will keep the corpus analytics in front of you, the real basic stuff, the not fine tuning. And so that way you don't have to go hunting for the analytics in all these different places. A suite like Hootsuite will look after it for you, and they just spit out some, here's some data that might be helpful this week. And the good thing about Hootsuite as well, and Sprout Social, and I've also tried eClincher, is that they also have they were able to tell you when is the best time to post for the highest impact. So you might make a nice little graphic, and it might be, as a running for council, you might want to do a range of whakatauki that really invigorate the way you think. And if you did that, you might make the graphic and you might get ready to post it, and you'll go to your Hootsuite, and Hootsuite will say, not now is not the best time to post, and then it will have a date and time that is really going to hit your audience. So little things like that are helpful when you're using a managing tool, because sometimes the management tools in the back ends of Instagram and Facebook don't allow you the privy of knowing that information. You kind of got to go and Google it. So Google, what is the best time to post a graphic to Facebook? Google will tell you that if you want to cut costs. So, you can do it cost-effective way, which is a lot more work, or you could find someone who might sponsor your Hootsuite subscription for the next 6 months. An auntie, who loves you and has a lot of money is a good idea. Also, the benefit of having things like Hootsuite as a management tool is that tech guru that we spoke about a little bit earlier on is only doing the multiple stuff in one place. So it makes their job a little bit easier as well. So things to consider when you're thinking about building yourself a great social media campaign is to definitely consider, could I be using a social media management tool like Hootsuite or Buffer or any of the ones that you see in this picture right now? That was a lot of words. Sorry, guys. Moving on, how does your audience consume? Okay, so this is a massive question. And you can do little polls. So, for example, if you had a social media profile, my social media profile is Sharon, and I'm running for council, and I really want to know how you like to read info. And so in the back end, they've got polls, or Google Suite has some polls that you can create, or you can do it in your story. And even if only 10 people respond, and you know that of the 10 people that responded, 2 of them only like to watch videos and the other 8 like to read text, then okay, well, that's 8 out of 10 who like to read text. That's a pretty good ratio. So perhaps maybe we're just going to make text posts for a little while. And you can run those polls, every now and then, just to make sure that the content you're making is hitting the mark. So think about polls. There's email campaigns. You could ask a question. You could go onto your story and just post a simple question up, like, do you guys like watching short videos or long videos? Simple stuff like that. I can really help you to identify what kind of content you want to be making. Multi-platform exposure. So we said we're going to talk about this. Are you ready for multi-platform exposure? Now, the reason why I wanted to single this out as a heading of its own is because a lot of people think I make a video and boom, put it everywhere, and yay, winning. But actually, like, for example, there are rules behind an Instagram business page that doesn't let you schedule a 3-minute video. So you can only schedule on Instagram videos that are 1 minute long. So if you've made a video and it talks about your aspirations and dreams moving forward, and it's an amazing video with lots of beautiful footage, and it's 2 minutes long, and you want to make the most of your peak time audience, so you go ahead and schedule it on Facebook, and you try to schedule that to Instagram, but Instagram's like, nope, sorry, we don't like that. So Instagram will not let you schedule a post that is longer than 60 seconds, which is actually yeah, I don't know. It's actually not cool, because a lot of us are in the business of making content, and we didn't spend all this time making a 3-minute video, and now we can't schedule it to get peak audience. And so what that means is you have to sit there and wait for peak audience time, which might be 1:15 on a Thursday, to put your post up, which can be a bit of a hoo-ha, especially if you've gone and paid for a tool like Hootsuite. So what technically, there's a language that has been embedded in the back end of these social media platforms that talk to these management tools. And technically, there's no way you can post anything on a business Instagram page that is longer than 1 minute. You have to do it in real time, which is, a little bit hoo-ha. And also, it's about thinking about the platforms that are going to work best for the way you like to deliver messages. So, for example, if you're the kind of campaign person who wants to, say, deliver high-end video clips, and you want to talk to an audience that might be, say, like high academics or academic professional people, why not think about LinkedIn as an option? Lots of people hang out on LinkedIn and have some really mean conversations there. So you could have your high academic profile corridor in a video. You could put it on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and then you might do a brosy version, which is just me and my hoodie down at the awa with my whaanau. We're going to make it short, 30 seconds, or maybe even 20, and it might be just who I am and what I'm about, and you're going to put that on Instagram and TikTok. Just making content that is really suitable for the audience that like to engage it in those spaces. So playing the multi-game can be a lot of work. Don't go in there, don't go charging in there unless you've done a little bit of homework about it. So that's why I wanted to talk about multi-platform exposure in its own little slide, is because you have to really think about the content that you're making and making sure that you're hitting the mark. Because sometimes it can be negative for you if you post up a 3-minute video, the technology cuts it in half, and the really great part of your message is in the last half, that sort of stuff. So just have a cordial with someone who knows, and that tech guru bro of yours might be able to help you answer some of those tricky questions. Okay, the right equipment. I have set myself up today. So you should consider, and I tell you, what do we have here? This is a headset with a mic on it. It's like comes with your phone. If you bought a new one, this one is like $5. I have them lying around my house because when you're doing a livey or when you're going out, and it's particularly when you're outside, because the wind and the microphones, bro, they belong, and they're like two different worlds, man. And if you go to a hui and the wind is blowing a gust and you're trying to talk, that no one's going to hear anything. And in fact, people are going to click out because they're hoha, because the wind is actually hurting their ears at the receiver end. So you can just get yourself one of these little tricky numbers. It's just a headset. Some people have the fancy dancy ones. I personally get annoyed with Bluetooth. So I like to plug in. And Kawe, you've got a fancy dancy one. Show us your fancy dancy headset. Kawe's is noise cancelling. So when you're sitting at home and you're going to do a live, really, really important to have like just a little headset. It has a nice little microphone right here. When you put it in your ear, the mic is in the great place so that people can hear you clearly. So, and this is like, I think you can probably buy this for $20, maybe 10. Kawe's is probably maybe 100, maybe. And then over here, we've got the business. So this is the business one. This is the business end of things. So you could go $20 and do an okay job. This works. It's not mine. So I just thought I brought it for example's sake. So this has got a fancy dancy stand and a fancy dancy $500 microphone. So, you can go there if you want to, or you can just get one of these tricks. And if I can switch my mic at some point, I'll give you the example of the two microphones. So setting up your equipment is important when you're going out to do lives, to get a proper microphone so that you can turn yourself away from the wind. If there is wind, like, you need to be conscious of that, because wind is going to kill your audience, okay? And selfie lights make a world of difference. Okay, here's a light. No, it's not a selfie light, because I'm not even about that life. But it's a lamp. Okay, I got a lamp and it just moves in and out like that. So these are little things that can help you do your video presentations when you've got a light there, and it can, I don't know, brighten up your face and stuff like that. And making sure that your phone is compatible with doing the live. So when you're going to go out and press live, you don't really want a phone that's going to be pixelated and not very nice to watch. So make sure your phone can handle that. And yeah, that's basically how you can do it. I'm going to try and switching mics now. So we're going to go to, no, we're not, because it doesn't want to find my mic. So let's not play that game. Okay, so but this mic is pretty great. I've done live stuff with this mic, and it is. And you know the best thing about these, because the fancy dancy head pod things, they get lost. I just couldn't deal with losing a little round thing that cost $400. So these things, if it's $10, it's okay if it got broken. And you can just sort of roll it up and shove it in your jeans pocket and it's there. So that's my best advice for you, is to just get one of these, like get a whole lot. I've got like 8 and they're everywhere. There's one in the lounge, there's one in the bedroom, one in every bag that I own, 2 in the car. And if you're going to be going live, then you can just plug your headset in and people will have a nice, clear voice. I've also got on the list here a gimbal and a selfie stick. So I didn't bring them into the room here, but a gimbal is basically something that you hold and it has a camera on it, and it's got a nice smooth transition. And you can get gimbals that your phone can attach to, so that when you're going live, it just does nice smooth transitions and you're not jiggling around all over the place, because again, that's ho-ha. Jiggity pictures, ho-ha. Wind noise, ho-ha. Avoid ho-ha. Okay? And selfie sticks are great for when you're out and about doing lives. So if you're going to be living yourself and you don't have a bro there to live for you, at least you know that the selfie stick is there and you can get it at a good distance from your body, because it's worse that you go to a hui, you open up your phone to do a live, and then auntie comes to give you a kiss, which will happen. And then, oh, there's auntie and you're having a kiss all over the live, At least if auntie comes to give you a kiss and you've got a selfie stick, you can put your selfie stick out to the side, give auntie a kiss, and everything is all good. So, and selfie sticks, you can go to like the $1, $2, $3 shops and get them for about $5, or you can get nice little pretty ones for about $30 or $40 from PB Tech. So there's some great equipment for you. All right. And I think this might be my last slide, is cleaning up your profile. So I don't know if have you guys Googled yourself, Kirsten Kawe? Yes. So that is the first thing you should do tonight. Like, do it now. Open up another window over there on the side while you're listening to us and Google yourself. Now, because my name is Sharon Te Spacerangi, I Google all variants of that. Te Rangi, one word, Sharon Te, Sharon Rangi, and just to make sure that your profile is all clean, because and the reason you do that, right, is because we've all had fun in our life, and you don't want any of that fun to come back and kick you in the bum in a negative way. So Google yourself and make sure that things are going on. And there's actually businesses out there who will clean up your profile if you want to spend the money on doing that, and clean up your Facebook profile. So go through it. You'll be surprised how much of your life is on there, and just to make sure that your whānau are safe and yourself is safe. Clean up your social. Just go make it clean. Tidy that up. And, oh no, this is the last slide. So the beautiful Meredith over here has, I'm not sure if she paid for that or if that was a per diem that came with one of her roles, but it is a stunning photo, and you should definitely, if you've got another bro who knows how to take photos, you should organise a great photo shoot of yourself. Now, Kawe and Kirst talked about it earlier, having those great high-profile pictures of yourself, because you need to look fancy, okay? And you need to look tidy. And so spend a little bit of money on getting a series of great photos of yourself and any variants of like whānau and stuff like that. And you know what? If you're trying to target a young audience on social media, bro, they can smell fake. They can smell it a mile away. They know all about that fake life. So be genuine on social media. Change your profile pic to be a genuine pic of yourself. Even if it's just what you see in our 3 frames right now, because those are genuine examples of who we are at home. Sharon as she is, Kirsty as she is, and Koe as he is. And those are great, genuine photos. So don't be fake. People can smell it a mile away. And you never know, because one day you might be being fake and you accidentally didn't turn the mic off. And that's not going to be a great moment for you, is it? So I think I've talked enough, guys. Yes, I have.
You are the bomb. That was absolutely awesome, and all of which are actually really key tips for anyone, really. I mean, you know, those who want to be potential, what do you call it? Social influencers. There's definitely the equipment piece to that you can really take away from this. But yeah, look, Sharon, such a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for providing those tips. I actually learned quite a lot in that session myself, to be honest. And funny fact is, and on the point of actually Googling yourself, it's really funny. So of course, on mine, when you Google my name, like it comes up with a whole bunch of kind of things and work stuff that I've been involved in. But of course, there is one on there actually that talks to when I ran for council back in 2019. Now, feel free at any stage, by all means, to read the article. But it was the incumbent at the time ran actually quite a divisive campaign against me, and so. By all means, if you want to feel entertained, feel free to read the article at some stage. But yeah, be mindful about what when Googling your name, also what some of it might rifle up. But yes, okay, moving on. Thank again, Sharon, thank you so much. Look, we're really kind of at the end point now of our wānanga.
No, we're not.
I'm getting there.
We're not.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. We're getting there, but we're coming. Sorry, go back. Yeah, we're coming to the end point really of this evening. But I wanted to kind of just quickly kind of talk about just some of the other campaign basics to know, particularly for those when nominations are happening, really. So nominations, as it shows here, is on the 15th. So it opens on the 15th of July. So basically from that point onwards to the 12th of August, again, it's really, really important that by 12 noon, you know, in the afternoon, that you make sure that you have your candidate nominations and profile in by that time. So we saw in the 2019, actually, I knew quite a lot. I knew quite a few people who weren't actually able to make their deadline, or who left it right to the very last minute only for something that they've misread, or they didn't fill out the form properly. So please, by all means, do not leave it until the 12th of August to hand in your nominations and to complete all of your profile and the like. But so just on that point, you have to complete an official nomination form, and that is then sent to your electoral officer, depending on the council that you fall under. You have to be nominated by two people, and these two people actually have to be 18 years or older, and they have to be enrolled to vote in the area in which you as a candidate are looking at standing in. Okay, so you yourself, if you're you yourself as a candidate, you don't necessarily, or you do not have to be living in the area in which you're choosing to stand in. So for example, I live in Whatawhata, but I don't, and if I'm standing, say for example, in Hamilton City Council, I myself don't need to be living there, but I can be nominated by people who stay in that region, and of course who are at least 18 years of age. But you, as a candidate, you have to support and consent to your nomination once it's handed in. And of course, with that comes a deposit of $200 that needs to be paid in by you. And then depending on how the election results go, you will get it will be refunded back to you. Now, again, it just really kind of just depends on how many votes you get. And the other major thing is that you have to be a New Zealand citizen. But by all means, Kirsty already shared earlier on this evening about this particular resource. So the candidate guide or the information for candidates, all of this information can be sought online. But again, these will be sent out to you following tonight's live presentation. Okay, more over to you, Kirsty.
Oh, cool. Well, first, ka tautoko te mihi ki a koe, Sharon. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. And just to emphasize what Koe just said too. So this is a permanent record. These videos are a permanent record. So there's a lot to take in of that wonderful kōrero of Sharon's, but you can go back and look at it again. And yes, we'll send you out the anybody that's on our mailing list, we'll send you out the PowerPoint of tonight too, so all these links will be available. If you want, we've already downloaded that candidates guide. So again, email me if you like, and I can just easily, I can actually just send it to you. There's a lot of really useful information. The actual Vote Local site has got lots of other information too, like just basics, like what is a ward. So that's worth going and having a look at, is that site. But we can certainly send you the candidate guide if you want. And a lot of the stuff we can go over when we do our tinana as well. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. So finally, Sharon's just going to run this review quiz of our session today. Same story. There's you can follow along as she goes through it, but the link's here for you to have a go and remind yourself about some of the kaupapa we talked about tonight in your own time. So take it away, Sharon.
Okay, let's give this one a try. It's a really good idea to create a calendar of events in your community because it will help you plan and manage your available time realistically. It'll keep you in touch with your communities, where people go, why the activities are important to them. It will ensure you are visible in a wide range of events and meeting people in your chosen districts. It will also inform you about all the players in your communities and the events they organise. Where are some of the good places to find out what's happening in your community? Websites, council websites, events pages, national newspapers, websites, marae, local communities, and various different Facebook pages have lots of information. What are some of the great ways to be visible in your community? Get yourself and your crew some cool t-shirts. There's billboards with great photos and slogans. Make sure your name, contact details and photo are clear on everything. Create a great social media strategy and post online regularly. What are some of the key strategies for developing your social media plan? Get a techie friend to help and support your platform. Decide on a tone and colour scheme and be consistent. Match your content to the platform and the audience. Repeat and emphasize key messages. Your social media strategy should include a plan and a schedule for posts, a great profile image and a great cover image. A willing social person to monitor, respond and moderate your platform. Updates about what you are doing, where you have been, with maybe short live stream video clips.
Kia ora.
Kapai.
Cool.
All right. So just the last slide. So just before I hand it back over to Kirsty, I just want to just a couple of reminders. So just a reminder about our up and coming whaanau. So our next one is actually going to be a hybrid version. So it's going to be our tinana one, but we're going to also try and attempt to do it online. So that is taking place on Tuesday, the 17th of May at 6 p.m. with the venue still yet to be confirmed. But as Kirsty mentioned earlier on in tonight's presentation, that it is highly likely that it's still going to remain here in Whatawhata and will be just down the road at Te Papa Orotu. And then also the following wānanga, which is our community wānanga, will take place on Sunday. So all of our community wānanga will take place on a Sunday, and that will be held on Sunday, the 29th of May at 10:30 at Almairo Pa. Cool. So, and I'll hand it back to you, Kirsty.
Oh, kia ora. And so the next one of these will be January the 5th. June the 7th, good grief. June the 7th, and what we're going to start doing in the next couple is looking at navigating the system. So we'll have some guest presenters who are either current councillors or work on council operations side, and who of course obviously been previous candidates. So they'll be available to talk to, and hopefully at our tinana ones we'll also have the same thing. And just to add to what Kawe said, so the community wānanga, we will be circling around the Waikato, so we've got people in place. So Almairo will be the first because that's home territory for us, and then probably Ngarawahia, so thanks to Kurikuri Hawkins, Kendi Ngātaki, Tuakau and Pōkeno and Port Waikato is going to help us coordinate those. So we're coming to an area near you. Sunday between 10:30 and 1:30 with kai provided, so they should be good, fun, interactive wānanga. So get a kazi to tell a kazi.
Cool. What an awesome line to end with. Look, just in closing, just really want to take the time once again to thank you all for joining us. So those of you who have been game enough to join us for the last hour and a half, thank you so much for your time. But look, the exciting part about this delivery is that everyone has the opportunity really to kind of come back on and re-listen to it. And we really hope to kind of condense this and consolidate this into really nice bite-sized pieces. But by all means, everything will be available to view and listen to on our YouTube channel, all of which will be provided to following this evening. By all means, if you are wanting to stand as a candidate and you think, actually, this really sounds like something that I want to do, we want you to reach out to us. And just as per that last slide, so by all means, please reach out to us, either kirsty@taurikura.com or kawina@taurikura.com. We are more than happy to come and meet with you at any stage. But by all means, this really is about building a collective voice and a collective approach to building more and supporting more whānau to stand in, across local government, but also supporting more people to get out and support those and also vote. So look, thank you again. And on that note, māku e whakakapi tēnā o tātou nei hui. Nō reira, me noi tātou, kia tau tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki a ihu karaiti, me te aroha te atua, me te whiwhina taitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, āmine. Pai mārere.
Pōmare.